everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Owning It podcast. This is where rebels, visionaries, and truth tellers collide. A gathering of voices that refuse to shrink, dare to rewrite their story, and now blaze a path so that you can own yours too. I'm excited because on this episode today, I am joined by Pete K. Wong, who is a speaker, a facilitator, and leadership motivator who is dedicated to guiding young leaders toward courage, confidence, and authentic leadership. He does this by blending the discipline of martial arts with the wisdom of mindfulness. And Pete reminds us that true strength is found in vulnerability, empathy, and self mastery. So, today's conversation is all about leading your life with purpose. So, Pete, thanks for being here today.
Hi, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been really nice conversating with you. And last time we talked, I think that was the first time, and it was really awesome. So I'm really excited and honored to be here with you.
Yeah, so when I give the introduction, you are the first of my guests who mentioned or who intertwines martial arts with what they're doing. And, we talk a lot about like wisdom, mindfulness, vulnerability, and self mastery, but yours is from martial arts. Like, tell me more about how all that came to be about for you.
Yeah. Hmm. Where do I begin? So I started doing martial arts, I think, when I was like 15,
Okay.
and it was in our family. So my background is I'm Chinese, born ABC, American born Chinese,
An
and
ABC. Thank you
yeah,
for identifying what an ABC is. American born Chinese, for those who don't know.
yeah, and in Minnesota, and my grandpa did kung fu like back in the day, um, and then but I was like really young when he passed away, and then my brother Mark Wong, he's a martial artist and instructor himself, and he took me under his wing and started teaching me martial arts. But in the beginning, I kind of like like any American, like Asian American kid, I was more interested in like sports, and I don't want to do that thing. So it wasn't until I was about 15 years old that I found my first instructor. His name's Jack Spazzali Sr. Jack is no longer with us, but I met him when he was 76 years old and I was 15, and he became my best friend. And then I just kind of from that point on, I martial arts became a big part of my character, and how like they say, it's kind of cliche, but it's like a way of living, a way of life. And it just happened that that's what it became for me. So I trained in different places, and when I lived in Hong Kong, I trained a little bit over there too, and then came back to Minnesota, and then eventually decided to move to LA. And when I was in LA, I found a mixed martial art meetup group, and I met my mentor. His name's Guru Orpheus Black, and it was the transformation that I experienced with the kind of training that I did with Orpheus, as well as having vulnerable conversations with a grown man, which I never knew the value. I never knew that I needed that until I was in it. And then I realized like, oh my gosh. And then it just like it made me question who I was, and made me question like who I wanted to be, while at the same time um telling myself and reminding myself that who I am is like actually enough. And so from that point on, um, I just wanted to share the tools, the practice, and the perspective that I've gained. And it's just taken a while to figure out like how do you do that? Like how do you teach people these cool principles in ways of living and looking at their life without like them signing up to be, fighters, or to sign up to be, like, because I train at a gym, but like my thing isn't like I'm not trying to like train people to be martial artists. I'm trying to train people to basically love themselves and how to deal with those difficult things in life, those moments where we feel shame, those moments where we feel insecurity. And I found that in my own narrative, it was through this practice that really challenged me to look at myself and go, which way do I want to go? And I think, especially with the foundation of boxing, there's so much in like a drill that can reveal who you are, and in a sense, who you were and who you want to be, all in the same time frame, like that. So yeah.
What an amazing story. When you were telling me all this, I was thinking of a movie like The Karate Kid.
Yeah.
It sounds so cliche, but is that what like happened for you internally?
I think so. I mean, I am. Oh wait, actually, I'm wearing a shirt that's
Okay.
Cobra Kai, and like my brother got it for me.
Okay.
And it's like all the different schools. Like, so, anyways, it's interesting that you brought that up. But yes and no. Like,
Okay.
I think that the Karate Kid and awesome movies like that, they have like we relate to them, and there's definitely like parables and like stories and student teacher and all that. So I think yes, but I never really saw it as like I'm Daniel or Orpheus is Mr. Miyagi. Although maybe I wonder if he if we mentioned that, if he would say, yeah, I am Mr. Miyagi. I don't know. But
Okay.
yeah, like there's definitely inspiration because I have a background in filmmaking as well. And I started off pursuing acting, writing, directing, everything under the sun when it came to filmmaking. And so I'm definitely inspired. Like my favorite movie is Rocky, the Sylvester Stallone, like all of them. And then the Creed movies, like I love them all. And they're the kind of movie that like a lot of, especially for men,
Mhm.
it's very relatable, very inspirational, and we identify with those characters that go through the ups and downs of life, relationships, all that. So for me, I guess when it came to it, it was more like in all the different stages of my training, there were different kind of inspirations. And when it came down to the most recent like what I call the transformation, which is
Mhm.
my time in LA with Orpheus, it was more like I was so hungry and I was so desperate to be the person that I was so afraid of being.
Mm.
And it just happened, like one of his favorite sayings is, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I know that's not his saying, but he's the one that introduced that to me. And
Mhm.
it's the kind of story that we share when we meet people. It's like he was there for me and I was there for him.
Mhm.
So in a sense, yeah, I guess it is like Miyagi and Daniel. But I don't see myself as a skinny Italian, So
Well, there's the new ones with Jackie and Ralph and the kid. I don't even know what the kid's name is. So
oh,
there's like a new one too.
you're talking about the new one.
I mean, it could be whatever which one that you feel. And so yeah, I was kind of wondering if you were gonna make the connection. Sometimes you just allow people to talk and then they hear themselves. It's like, oh wow, okay. Yeah, maybe there is. And so yeah, so you were saying like you were desperately hungry and seeking. What were you hungry and seeking at that point in your life?
Ooh, I love that question. Thank you so much for asking it. It's a juicy one. And for me to kind of just like, sum it up in a few words,
Mhm.
it's because I've had to unpack it. And it's also part of sometimes the story that I share when I'm speaking or facilitating a workshop. A lot of it is I believe growing up in a immigrant home. My family is originally from Hong Kong and originally from China, Canton, China,
Mm-hmm.
Toisan, and then immigrated to Hong Kong. Well, and then when they came to the United States and specifically Minnesota, they were like a lot of immigrant refugees, just trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up in this generation, 1980s, where survive, but then also like I was seeing some other things. I was being introduced to some other things. So I love theater, I love storytelling, I love films. So I pursued that. And then the whole idea of competition, the whole idea of like dog eat dog world, or like just the complexity that comes with our like who we are in the world and how we're influenced by the world.
Mm-hmm.
And especially I've been sharing more talks about Asian American mental health, and it's like just the other day in my men's group, I have a monthly meetup Asian men's group.
Okay.
You could see a lot of the men sharing how much what the parents say influence them, and how
Mm-hmm.
difficult it is to create boundaries for yourself and say, I love you, mom, dad, or whoever, grandpa, grandma, aunt, uncle, but that's your life and that's not my life. Because I think because of our culture, we feel that little guilty, like, oh, am I not, like, they're the ones that took care of me, they're the ones that raised me. Am I thinking individualistically, like American,
Mm-hmm.
or am I like losing my Asian? So it's all these like questions that get thrown up. Well, when you think about it, and we're talking about mental health, that's a lot of anxiety for one person to keep in themselves. And so for me, I've always had extremely loving parents and family members. They just never knew what the heck I was doing. And so they supported me, and they never said, do this, do that, don't do this, do that. But anytime I kind of like deviated or like felt a sense of failure,
Mm-hmm.
because I felt a lot of success. Like I'd make a movie, or like I'd work on a documentary, and then all of a sudden I completed it and we had a movie screening. Oh, yay, awesome. Pete's making movies. He's doing stuff in his life. But what about those failures? What about those, like, you know what? I'm not sure why, but I don't really like myself very much. And when you don't have a foundation that says, you know what, at a young age, we need to practice daily self-care, self-love, um, creating a practice and a process for us to be the kind of people that we need to be for ourselves. So because I didn't have that foundation, and again, my family was extremely loving, but because I didn't have that foundation, by the time I was in my 30s or like mid 30s, it was like the first time that somebody, like, I started having conversations about, like, like Orpheus would say, if your life is a movie and if you're the main character, or like if your life is a movie, how come you're not the main character?
Mm.
And I used to hate that when he said that. I'd be like, oh, like,
Did you get triggered? Like, did that trigger you?
yeah, it triggered me, but what triggered, like, the bottom line is shame.
Mm-hmm.
It's I felt like I wasn't good enough, or I felt like, wow, how come I've wasted 36 years of my life not doing these things? And then it was his love and the people that I surrounded myself, their love, who accepted me for who I am today and wanted to know more. Like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? He's interesting. I like talking to him, but like there's something about him that's like He's holding back.
Mm-hmm.
And I could sense that in myself. I was holding something back, but I didn't know what. And then when we were training, it would come out sometimes in anger. And the thing is that now that I work with young men or young boys, specifically a lot of Asian boys, anger comes out in very fascinating, interesting, kind of scary ways. That sometimes it's so subtle that if we don't identify it, like it could be something that just continues to exacerbate. I can't say that word. I love that word. Exacerbate. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exasperate. I can't say it out either.
Yeah. Right. Right. It's such a cool word.
We're going to use the word perpetuate. How about that?
Perpetuate.
It perpetuates. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
You can't do our E and X together today.
There you go. There you go. So listeners, you can practice that word and then let us
Right.
know.
Sometimes, when we're doing this, we don't think about it and we say it, but when it comes up, it can't. So I'm like, you know what? We'll just do perpetuate. So yeah. So
there you go.
Say perpetuating.
Yeah. And so like let's say I be boxing and then I get punched in the face. Well, because everything that I saw growing up on TV or maybe in the schools was you hit me, I need to hit you. So the first thing that we go after because of our ego is like, oh, that you kind of like you shamed me. Like I feel like less of a person of a sometimes the narrative is a man.
Mm-hmm.
So then what's the first thing I'm going to attack? I'm not going to attack the body. I'm going to attack the face. And so what you learn in boxing, the great fighters, they're not headhunters. They're going for the liver and the spleen.
Ooh, that sounds hard.
It
is.
is.
Swallow there for a minute. I'm like, oof, that sounds hard.
We got Jasper. Jasper wants to be on the podcast.
Hi, Jasper. So cute. People, this is a video, so people see the cat. I always love it when they, animals and pets.
Jasper. All right. See, he loves attention.
Yes. Right. Hey, Jasper.
Okay, boo boo. Love you too. All right. So lots of times it was after our training, Orpheus and I would sit down and talk about it. And he would ask me questions like, what did you notice? Like one thing, I remember the first time I sparred one of my buddies, Andrew. I need to credit my guys when I get a chance. So Andrew Jr., one of the first times that I sparred him, like Andrew grew up with martial arts. His father is a martial artist. So he already had a lot of like knowledge and experience and skills. And for me, it was like one of my first times I ever like sparred somebody. And like, so I could feel like, oh my gosh, like this guy, like the reality is at that time, it's like, he's so much better than me. Like, I don't have an answer for what he's giving me. And I was getting tagged or whatever. But then I would like, I'll try my best. But then Orpheus would be like, what did he have that you didn't have? And I say, oh, he, years of training. He has a, da. And he's like, nope. He wasn't afraid. And I was like, damn, because I definitely was afraid. Right. So it's just something like that. And then you start have to like, you start have to question yourself like, well, okay, if I felt afraid from another man, like, and it's just training, it's not like he did anything personally to me. We have an agreement. We're training together. But my own fears showed up. And then because of where I was in that moment in time, I was afraid, and therefore I was probably getting tagged a lot. And so that's something, but then you have to like forgive yourself. You have to show compassion to yourself. And my coach, my mentor, Orpheus, he demonstrated that for me. He's like, it's okay to feel like this. He would say, sometimes you just got to sit and feel what you feel. And like, I felt everything like, oh, like I suck. I'm afraid. I'm insecure. And then you have to decide for yourself, do you want to continue living like that? Or do you want to find the tools and the practices and the skill and you got to put effort to change that? And so for me, I was at a turning point in my life where I was so hungry, where I didn't want to, because I did like myself, but I didn't know how to love myself. And because I was,
you liked yourself, but you didn't know how to love yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to like myself because what other choice do I have? Like, I had lost, part of my narrative is I lost 2 people to suicide. My best friend and my grandma. And I went through a depression around that time. And, I just to put out there, for the audience, like if you do need professional help, I do support that. And because sometimes that's exactly what you need. And so for me, I needed to see a therapist. And even though I thought it was taboo at the time, like, why would I want to see a therapist? But then when I started to see the therapist, she helped me work through those things. And that was years ago. But like, after I experienced that, I always told myself, like, there are certain things that I don't want in my life to be, or to like, for example, thoughts of suicide, right? Maybe at a young age, I thought about that, like many kids do, like many young people do, like, like this sucks. This person broke my heart. Like, it's the end of the world. And then not knowing what the future holds for you by just giving yourself a chance. And so when I gave myself that chance, and the therapist and family and friends supported me, I was able to persevere that. And then that's where some of my dreams came true. I went to Hong Kong. I finished, a movie, a documentary on my father. I made my own like web series, all these things that were kind of ticking the boxes for me that I needed to do to bring at that time bring purpose. But just to travel, that's all I wanted to do. Travel, get away, see the world. And I was able to do that, but I wouldn't have done that had I not been able to like get myself out of that depression and that kind of thing. So, but then flash forward years later, other stuff happened and other pain showed up. And then that's what led me to meeting Orpheus and my other fight church brothers and sisters.
Wow. Something so you met him, Orpheus, right? I was gonna say Morpheus. Is that someone from what's the Keanu Reeves movies? Matrix.
The Matrix. Yeah, he gets that a lot.
I was like, oh, your mentor is named Morpheus? It's Orpheus. Okay. So I was gonna say, wow, you're Keanu Reeves then. So you met him and you went through this journey in your mid-30s. Is that right? Is that okay?
Yeah, I believe so.
What, and I think a lot of people, especially in our mid-30s, we beat ourselves up emotionally, internally, because we're like, we should have had all this figured out by our 20s. If you had figured all this out in your 20s versus your 30s, do you think you'll be on your current path right now or no?
I mean, sometimes I think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I think about, like, had I had this experience, this knowledge and wisdom at a younger age, would I, like, that's the question. Like, would I have, like, gotten further? But then I have to bring it back to my authenticity. And it's like, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to say. And I guess that's why I don't like listen to that voice. Like, that voice is not as loud as the present one. And it's because I've really actually like, as much pain as I've experienced and as much moments of difficulty that I didn't know like how I would like overcome, when I look back on it, there's so many memories that I can pull back and be like, yeah, I did that. Right. Or even moments of like when I worked for the film producer in Hong Kong, like my dream came true. I got to work on movies. I got to meet some of my stars. I was this close. I was like this really close to working with Jet Li, Donnie Yen, I think Zhao Yunfat at one point, right? And Tony Leung was one of my heroes too. So these are all Hong Kong actors.
These are big stars,
Yeah,
like, if you know, Asian stars, like, these are like the Hollywood of, like, Hong Kong. These are, like, big ass stars.
yeah, and like I did end up working with some of my heroes, and some heroes that I saw growing up in kung fu movies. I got to work with them. Gordon Liu from Kill Bill,
Oh, yeah.
36 Chambers of Shaolin, Law Meng, Five Deadly Venoms. The only thing is that I was doing a lot of the grunt work. I was working for the film producer, and sometimes it was a toxic environment. But I didn't know how to create boundaries for myself. And also, I was like a 24. I was in my mid 20s, and I had this like, green. I was very like how they say green. It's like if I say something, am I gonna lose my job? Like, and I was just thinking of like chasing after the thing that I wanted, but then not knowing how to Jasper. How to,
Jasper, you're so cute.
you're just like Papa, huh? You don't mind the spotlight. Okay, so you take.
No, he's like,
Oh, you
touching
just gave
me.
me a kiss. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, pay attention. I'm sorry, Jasper. I'm sorry. I'll give your dad back here, okay?
he wants to answer some questions too. But no, anyways,
It's okay. That's fine. He can.
that's hilarious. Okay,
Mhm.
I even gave him a snack. I gave them both a snack beforehand because I was like, oh, they won't want to pop up here. So anyways, now I lost my train of thought. No, but I was working for a film producer, and sometimes it was a very toxic environment, and sometimes they would say things that my own values, it questioned my own values, but I didn't know how to challenge it. I didn't know how to like just have an adult conversation, like, hey, like that's cool that you feel that way, but this is how I feel. And but then again, if I did back then, I might have not had these opportunities. So it's
Mhm.
it's hard to say, but yeah,
Mhm.
it's fun to ask though.
Yeah. I mean, when you're in your 20s, you're doing this type of work. It's like you're green, right? And you're like, if I say something, if I speak out, if I have boundaries, I might lose this. And so you're willing to take a lot of toxicity, abuse, and all of that when you look back as, as a more seasoned person, you're like, wow, I took a lot of unnecessary shit.
Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. So, I mean, you've had a life that a lot of people only dream of.
Hmm. Thank you. Thank you.
Hmm.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Because sometimes sometimes when we get in our negative thoughts, it's like I haven't done enough, or like and it's hard to see, it's hard to celebrate those wins or those accomplishments, looking back. And and I think it's just probably mainly because I am like an ambitious person, and I do have things that I'm striving for. Like I like to work towards something. I like to work towards like I like challenges. And I think even when I was young, I was afraid of challenges, but I wanted them because the people that inspired me, they were always striving for
Hmm.
for for something more, something better. Like even great political leaders, like they're striving for a better world. Like that. So but then I think what's great is when I was going through my transformation, all of that came together. It's like, yeah, exactly, you can be that, and at the same time you can also like be who you are, and that's like
Mhm.
perfectly fine.
Mhm.
And I think that's something that's quite challenging for a lot of people, is just being fine with who they are, what they are. And I think martial arts, again, martial arts and boxing has taught me that, because you just don't have time to think like, you can't think of the past, you can't think of the future. You have to be present in the moment, and you have to accept like who you are right now, and the skills and experiences is like, it has to be enough for now. And it doesn't mean that you can't improve, or you won't, but you have to start somewhere. And and don't get me wrong, like there are days where I'm like, I get schooled by someone like an advanced practitioner, and I'll go home and I'll be like,
Okay, we're back. We had a little bit of tech issues here. So, Pete, you disappeared because the electricity from your end was like messing around. So yeah, I lost you there for a second.
Yeah, it looks like our power went out, and so I'm gonna do the rest on my phone, and hopefully that'll be good enough.
Yeah, you know what? It's perfect okay right now. And again, people can see the both of us. So, um
Okay.
gosh, I think you were just talking about your journey and how martial arts, and you left off about how, I think, I'm not going to say like you were getting your ass kicked, but as you were talking about this, I was thinking about how when you are in this kind of like, when you're martial arts, you have to be present and be in the here now. You can't be in the past, you can't be in the future, because I suppose, not that you're getting your ass kicked, but I suppose when you are being beat up or sparring, you can't think about the past or the future. You literally have to think about the here now and protecting yourself and being mindful.
Yeah, I think that like in the beginning, you're still like, well, I'll just say it like this. In the beginning, most of the time, you are in your head and your thoughts, and you are also thinking about like how you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start getting like you've done it enough, or maybe there's been a certain kind of exposure, a certain kind of training, which is what I also got from Orpheus, is this way of training which is as realistic as we could make it, under
Mm-hmm.
the confines of still, like there were still rules in place. There was still um, like it's still playful, being playful. We weren't trying to like kill each other, but there was a certain amount of increasing the intensity,
Mm-hmm.
and we would call them, another guy that I trained with, Pitar, would call it pressure testers. And I think when you're looking at martial arts, boxing, a combat discipline, sport, whatever, if you are doing it for the application, like how am I going to actually use this? Like how do I embody these movement, these skills, the timing, the feeling? You have to actually put yourself in those pressure tester moments. But there are
Mm-hmm.
some people that just want to do the forms, or just want to do the movements, but not the kind of like the unknowns, right? And that's what the way Orpheus like introduced me to that way of training. It's like, when it comes down to fighting and defending and protecting yourself, there's a certain point where you can't be thinking about it. You just have to execute. And the longer I've been training, the more like advanced instructors or practitioners that I've been meeting, they have that pedigree in them, And I don't know if they had that already or it's been developed, but so for me now, when it comes to fighting or training, a lot of it is I'm enjoying the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to play more. I'm trying to like, it's a weird thing. Like I wish there was a way of naming it, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like you're just in the moment, and your body, your mind, and your spirit are all working in one unit. And to me, what resonates the most, or what has resonated the most, is real contact and real impact and real danger.
Mm-hmm.
Because without the danger, I would not understand where safety is.
Mm-hmm.
Like if someone just said, like, uh, like because I think I'm just a very tangible person. Like I have to feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to feel it. Like, oh my gosh, like that really hurts. What do I got to do to mitigate that or prevent that, or and that's where all the nuances are. And when you're talking to other martial artists that love this stuff, it's those nuances. Like an instructor that I'll be training with tonight. Like he sometimes he'll share something, and it's like, wow, like that's really kind of like nerding out on that concept, right? But then he brings it back to a very practical. It's like, why would you waste why would you waste your energy? Why would you waste that angle? The person's face is right there, right? So whether we're talking about knife fighting, stick fighting, or a fist, or a leg, or an elbow, it's like some of these martial art movements are very practical and very efficient, and they're designed that way. A lot of Filipino martial arts, especially, are designed for that guerrilla combat warfare that they had to deal with back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a lot of this is being present, being mindful, and energy. It's a lot about energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
How does that translate to what you're doing, like professionally?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that the timing of our conversation, because I had a conversation with your guest, Michael.
Yeah.
Um, right, Michael. His last name P. um, yeah,
Michael Punt. Yep, he was a previous guest. And for anybody who is wondering about his episode, he is the founder of Wingman Mental Health Coaching. So very awesome. I will put the podcast episode in the description box too. But yeah, you
yeah,
and Michael had a chance to connect.
yep. We connected on the phone the other day, and it was just really cool to share with him, who I am, the work I've done, and then vice versa as well. And one of the things that he pointed out is that he because we talked about, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, and wanting to do good, like helping support people's mental health, or those kind of spaces, and especially working with men. It's like it's how we're packaging it, how we're like, what is it that we know that we're good at these things, but how are we packaging it so people can like join or sign up or participate. And he talked a lot. He asked me, if I wanted his advice. And I said, yes, please. And he said, I think you should focus. I think you should focus on the martial arts and boxing, and then through that, you're able to provide the mentoring. You are able to provide the, all the things that I've been doing with my speaking and facilitating. But whether creating a program or what have you. But it's like, my thing is that I've been just wanting to find a way to communicate some of these how you say it, like for example, one of my favorite sayings is, and it's from boxing, is being comfortable in the uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the word, but I feel like people can say that, but in boxing there's a specific drill,
Mm-hmm.
or mixed martial arts, there's a specific drill. There's many of them, but like
Mm-hmm.
I've experienced that myself. So I want to put people in those places. I
Mm-hmm.
want them to feel like in a sense, that fear. I want them to feel those voices that come up to that rise to the surface, or the anger, and it's like questioning themselves. Because like Orpheus used to say, who you are shows up
Mm-hmm.
in those moments. And
Mm-hmm.
depending on your training, depending on your experience, depending on your like how much have you been pressure tested,
Mm-hmm.
and in what way? And then do you have the support system? Because when you go through those things, you're going to need the right people around you to hold space for you, to comfort you, to remind you that this was an experience. You don't have to, you can feel shame, but you don't have to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like to, so the three things that I like to incorporate is real conversation, or being real,
Mm-hmm.
or vulnerability, um, playfulness, fun. And the last thing is some type of mind and body movement, or if we're talking about martial arts and boxing, an actual drill. But for me, it's about how do I make it fun for others to go through that experience? Because I have a lot of fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so through that, we can have those dialogues. And I think for me, it's just a matter of I probably just need to sit down and like figure out like, okay, that drill uh, translate to that outcome,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's kind of hard because I'm not creating a curriculum for like testing a black belt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm creating a curriculum that is designed to help people, provide tools and practices for them to navigate these parts of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because I don't know, I don't know anyone else that's doing it quite the same way. I, 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 I don't have an example. However, that's also the fun of it.
Mm-hmm. As you're saying this, I can totally understand. You and I talked about this prior to recording about networking events and how you went to a networking event that was really, out of there. And last week I went to another networking event that was really out there for me too, like realtors. And they're all like, "Are you a realtor?" I'm like, "Not at all." I'm like, "I'm a, therapist and coach." But as I started getting talking with them, there's a lot of relation to all of this. And yes, you may be a realtor, but how are you showing up? How are you showing up? Like, how are you mentally, like physically, emotionally, psychologically? All of that shows up into your profession and occupation.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Mhm.
glad that you said that. Yeah, that was brought up in our men's group. One of the somebody that I met at the Yobismo Entrepreneurs Asian Business Leader Conference. He came to my workshop. We met at the booth, but then he came to my workshop, and he's an older gentleman, and I just have so much admiration, respect, and he's just a very special person. And I just met him, and he came to our men's group, and one of the things that he brought up is the importance of showing up, like showing up at, like how you want to show up,
Yeah.
and like being relentless about that.
Mhm.
And because we had some young guys, we had some guys that me and another guy that were going through, we just got laid off from our part-time job, and
Mhm.
or my part-time job, his I believe full-time, and
Mhm.
just kind of like getting in this mode of like showing up, still show up exactly how we want to show up, show up, show up, show up, and then getting ready to receive the gifts that the universe is going to present us,
Mhm.
because we are okay and with who we are, just like, and that was just something that he mentioned. And So, and I don't know if he would want me to drop his name, so I don't know. So I won't.
No, it's up to you. But I think this is what it's so important is, regardless of what field we are in, and I can see so much of this in leadership is how you show up as a leader. It impacts. It's everything that you said there. Is if you don't show up with being present, being mindful, having the self compassion, everybody else, and especially your team, is going to know and feel it. They know and they feel it.
Yeah, yeah. And for a long time, I questioned, like all of us, business owners, like what is my brand? What is like, who am I? Like what is it? What is the service that I'm providing? And I did work with my friend who's a speaker and a branding coach, Bert Lee. Bert Lee Speaks, who really helped me identify some of those things that I needed to talk out loud with somebody who, with his expertise. But like, I started to listen more on what are the things that naturally respond to me. And a lot of it is, like, the foundation is martial arts and boxing. And even this whole thing about tapping into our primal nature. I got laid off last week. Our program that I work at the college did not get refunded, and for the first 2 days, like, I was really having a hard time with it because I was like worried. There's a lot of like my thoughts and little spiral a little bit, but then I started to lean a little bit more into, like, you know the opportunities that are presenting themselves, and like this whole thing about what I'm doing, like what I want to do more of. What if I did more of that? And what I started to see was, it came back to when I was training martial arts and boxing back in LA. Like, I didn't have a whole lot, like, in front of me that I knew.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to make a decision. What was I gonna do, like, in this moment? And so I've been listening to a little bit too much, I think, like a combination of YouTube music. Like the algorithm was like, all I wanted was a little bit like a boxing playlist, and it
Mm-hmm.
ended up being like motivational speakers mixed in with like hip hop. You know, but it's like, how many times can I hear "Don't give up"? How many times do I need to hear, like, keep going? And then I started thinking, like, that's my brand. My
Mm-hmm.
entire life, I've been like afraid of so many things. And when I went through my transformation, I started to have the right components to support me to look at things in a different way. But
Mm-hmm.
it had to come from somewhere very primal. I had to dig deep into
Mm-hmm.
who I am. And I used to call my company, like, back in the day when I first started, like, doing this, Unleash the Beast. And
Unleash the beast. Yeah.
yeah, and like and like there's something about that, like, that power that, like, like we are all animals.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is like, what I was like unsure of is, like, but not all animals have to, like, do damage, or rip things apart. And like, there's so there was, I wanted it to be like more universal.
Mm-hmm.
But there are moments, though, in our
Mm-hmm.
lives where we do need to tap into that.
Yeah.
And I think that channeling the principles and practices of martial arts and boxing, there are moments where you do have to pick yourself up. There are moments where you need to go into beast mode.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise the world is going to like roll over you,
Mm-hmm.
or you're going to be so influenced by like other voices and other people's like ways of doing things that you don't have the grit, the gumption in yourself to say, this is who I am, I'm gonna show up like this.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a fighter, you gotta have that confidence, right? You gotta walk in, like when you're doing like a sparring match or even when you're just training, you gotta like, and I kind of tie it back to self-love. Like it's confidence, but it's also like, I gotta love myself enough to say, you know what, I'm gonna show up this way. You take it or leave it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then when I started to do that, I started to see a change in my like the universe was like manifesting these things that I was envisioning just because I decided to show up like it was a non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, without martial arts and boxing, I have a very difficulty tapping into that side of me. And I think also, like, I did a workshop on anger, and I called it listening to your anger, something when it rises to the surface. And it's like, especially for young boys and men, it's like, how are we communicating our anger? Because that primal nature that I'm talking about, it might show up.
Mm-hmm.
And how are we going to navigate that in a healthier way?
Mm-hmm.
And that shows up in all facets of our life. I feel like an area that I need to work on is when my partner and I were having an argument and she says something and it triggers me.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I don't want to yell, as much as I don't want to like raise my voice, what she said hit a chord so deep. And a lot of it is just, I wish you understand my sadness, or I wish you understand how stressed I am.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of like wanting to slow down and, we're talking about being in the moment, like calm, like my normal, like, Buddhist guy, it's like in that moment, it hurt. So I lash out and it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do we navigate that? How do we improve those things? And, at the same time, I know that I am like, it's never intentional, and I never want to cause harm. And I never, like I would never, and I never have caused harm physically to my partner, but emotionally, because we're not seeing eye to eye, because we're miscommunicating, because I don't have the tools and the practices or experiences. And also it's kind of fun to just like grow with each other. Like, as much as it sucks, I'm learning from other couples. Like, that's part of the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I know that can be hard and very, very vulnerable. And so it sounds like if you do not have, would you call it outlet or the skill or this gift of martial arts? Do you think you would be a different person?
Yeah. Definitely I would be a different person. And again, it's like that question. It's that same question. Like, if you were 20 something, it's like, I like maybe a science fiction movie, if I could go in a time machine, and then I could like Back to the Future, I could see myself like, okay, you know, or a Christmas Carol. Like that's how I would have turned out. But I don't have those skills. I'm not a, you know, I'm not a X-Men. So I can only deal with what I have here today and now. And because as I'm getting older, there's a reality of mortality,
Mm-hmm.
and I am trying not to question things too much and trying to search for answers and more like just really find joy in life in the moment
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of laughter. Um, and those are, and my, you know, my mentors, they were all like jokesters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. You know, there's so much what ifs. And if you allow the what ifs to overcome, you're always going to think, what if, what if, what if? And you can't be in the present. There's a lot of anxiety and depression, unfortunately, related to what ifs. And um, again, you and I had this conversation about why is it so hard to have a business where it's about being authentic, being vulnerability, and self mastery. Is because we live in a world that is fast, fake, and facade.
Mm.
And you're telling them to do everything that they've been told not to. You and I have businesses where we are telling people or telling them it's okay. You don't have to be fake. You don't have to be facade. You can be authentic. But what are you going to have to give up in order to live an authentic, vulnerable life? And a lot of people are not ready for that.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And, you know, the thing that keeps me so motivated and inspired is those moments when, whether I'm in a workshop and somebody reveals something, or I'm speaking to a room and I see a smile, or somebody come up to me afterwards, or in my men's group, like it's something intuitive and something like that I feel in my body when I interact with people, that it's kind of like a,
Finally.
yeah, it's like you know, that love that I shared when we first started, that I gained from Orpheus.
Mhm.
It's this like unconditional love for a human being, and I want to learn anything and everything about you.
Mhm.
And no matter what you do, you can't screw up. At least, you know, there are certain things that at some point, like, you know, if you're a serial killer, you know, back up.
Yeah.
But like in my workshops, though, I get so much joy when I see people like get out of their own shell. Or I'll get a young man come up to me afterwards and, you know, like quietly, like, you know, like corner, like if there's a corner that we could go into,
Yeah.
be like, I don't have a lot of men or boys, you know, that I can talk to about this stuff. And then I'll be like, if you're okay, I'll introduce you to some right now, you know, like, because there are those that are ready for it, and then there are those that aren't, and they're right there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I really find a lot of joy in that. And then also, I think like my best friend Des used to say this, and you know, also it's a cliche, but it's like attracts like. And when I'm in those spaces, and even here with you,
Mhm.
somebody who is holding space, giving me the respect, and just allowing me to show up as I want to show up. Um, it's a good feeling versus being in a space And I think when I was younger, I think for a lot of young people, we have a hard, you have a hard time of recognizing um, toxic environments or just peer pressure, and
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to say no. And that's a conversation my partner and I have been talking about recently. Is like some of our friendships have changed. Well, which are the friendships that are worth investing in and nourishing, and which are the ones that we have to either say goodbye completely or be at an arm's length,
Mm-hmm.
or just be like, you know and my thing is, I have to do a test. I have to do a check-in, like, hey, how's it been, like that. And if they don't want anything to do with me, or if what they're saying is hurting me, is a negative like feeling, energy, it's not helping me, then I will do what I can to cut that off. But
Mm-hmm.
if they're just trying, and maybe they don't have the tools to communicate that vulnerability, or maybe there's some shame attached to it. Oh, we haven't talked to each other in a long time. I don't know. I don't know how to talk to you. No, I used to when I came back to Minnesota, and Orpheus and I would do check-ins. There would be times where I'd be like, oh, I'm afraid to call him because like it's been so long. Like, what are we gonna talk about? And then like I'll actually get a phone call from him. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about you. And then and then both of us might be like kind of shaking the cobwebs a little bit because it's been a minute. But it's like once we just like come back to, we love each other. It doesn't matter. I call him ride or dies.
Mm-hmm.
He's a ride or die, so it doesn't matter. He's family. It, it's gonna take a lot for us to destroy our relationship, and let's not go there. So
Yeah, yeah. I feel like whenever I interview anyone for this podcast, there's this internal growth, internal work that they've done. And maybe I gravitate towards those entrepreneurs or people who are doing this journey also, because to do the kind of path that we're doing, we got to do some deep internal shit work, like we really do. And so for you for anyone who's listening to this, and especially like men and young men, like what do you have for them?
mm, I'm glad you asked this question because it's probably something I gotta write down and think more of. Number one, I think that it's important to have somebody you can talk to. I was thinking about this, or this comes up every once in a while. So, a couple years back, I was working a summer program, and we took the kids to really cool, another dream that came true. Went to Disney, Florida. Is that Disney World?
Oh, yep, that's
Yeah.
Disney World. Yep, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
I never got to do that when I was a kid, and I always wanted to, and then I forgot about it. And then eventually, with this program, I got to go. But one of the young men that I was working with, one of the high school students, his advisor told me that his girlfriend had just broke up with him
Hmm.
while we're on vacation, while we're on this trip. So she did it over the phone or text or something like that. And normally I would like, because I had a connection with this young man, I would be like, hey, like, pull him aside. Do you want to talk about it? But because he has an advisor, I didn't want to step like boundaries or lines. Like because she's the one that told me. So I was like, okay, if if you talk to him and if he wants to talk to me, like, please let me know. But I let her lead.
Mm-hmm.
But then months later, I thought about it and I'm like, I should have just talked to him. I should have just made that effort to be there for him, because as a young man hearing from a grown man, it would be a little different. And somebody that he's actually like, I've known this kid for years, where his advisor just knew him for like that year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think about that. I think about that I mean, he's good. He's actually doing really well. But I think about that moment and how I kind of missed that opportunity to be that person. Because I what happened was, I thought about myself in his shoes when my girlfriend broke up with me, my first girlfriend or what have you. I think at that time when I was young, I just needed somebody to talk to tell them, like, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've learned as an adult, you can't tell a young person, like, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna have, like, you got a whole world ahead of you, right? Because this thing that's happening to them right now is the biggest thing in their life. So when
Mm-hmm.
I was young and that happened to me and I didn't really talk to anyone about it, I mean, I did talk to people about it, but I didn't talk to them the way that I really wanted to, which
Mm-hmm.
is a lot of like questions, shame, sometimes not completing my sentences.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I started to, like, have a lot of anxiety, worry, possibly depression, and I started to think about taking my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's scary and it's sad that young people, that even crosses their mind. It makes me really sad. And the thing is, I want to tell them is like you got to live for the surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and for me, I feel like I do that through sharing my pain, because for them to know what I've gone through, they can see that I've chosen to get to the other side of that. But if I just say, uh, like, if I don't share my pain and just be like, this is who I am, it's like, okay, so what? Right? But I wanna show them, be empathetic, like, hey, I get it. I get it. It sucks right now. So
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about that. What sucks right now? Oh, blah 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 blah. Well, do you ever think about that? Have you ever thought about this? Like, I know what you're feeling right now. Like, I can't give you an answer, but just hang in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would start with that. I would start with, make sure you have someone you can talk to, whether it be a parent, a family member, a mentor, a coach. I know a lot of coaches, like kids that do sports, coaches are quite good. Um, but yeah, like that to me is the first thing. And then the second thing I think will follow, but I guess, yeah, don't give up and live for the surprise. And then, yeah, and there's a ton of other stuff after that, like more discipline stuff. But yeah, eat
Yeah.
healthy.
No, I like this a lot, and it's really giving hope in the surprises. Like, there's like surprises out there that are going to amaze you. And so those surprises are worth living for.
Yeah, yeah, and I think anyone that goes through hard things, that goes through difficulty, like I said, last week. I mean, I'm still in it right now.
Mhm.
Like right now, I'm feeling like I'm getting punched. It's not as hard as it was last week, but and I'm trying to navigate. I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, my current kung fu teacher. I'm sorry, my current martial art instructor. One of them is Sifu Peter Kwong at MKG North, and he talks about routes. Orpheus used to call them options. What routes will you take? What options do you have? What options will you create for yourself? And while navigating the pain, while navigating the uncomfortableness. And so for me right now, I'm living my brand, and it's scary. It's scary because a part of me doesn't want to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
A part of me wants to run away and hide, and then the other part of me is like, this is a turning point. This is beast mode. This is, the 300 times you heard the don't give up.
Mm-hmm. You're like being tested, and so you are living your brand, and you are the vulnerability, and you're also the authenticity of it right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I love everything that you said. And, like, last question for you is like, what does it mean to own it for you?
I should prepare for this one.
No, that's okay.
The thing that the first thing that popped in my head is when you strive for excellence, when you take the time to figure out what is that definition for you, and then being relentless about that.
Mm.
Like there's something about when you choose something and you are relentless to the point of where, like, again, it's something that Orpheus used to say, when I sparred somebody. He would say, um, and I got to be careful like how I word this, because somebody could take this like the wrong way, but it's like,
Mhm.
in a sense, when you're sparring somebody, they don't exist.
Mhm.
So don't put so much focus on the other person. Just believe in your body and the work that you put into it, and let your body do what it needs to do.
Mhm.
And back then when he said that, it was early on in our training, and he'd say it, and you would hope that the light bulb would shine. The light bulb did not shine. It was it was
Did it
like,
take a few more hits before the light bulb came on, or?
I mean, probably.
Yeah.
Probably. But it's like it it flickered.
Yeah.
It definitely flickered. But I was like, I don't get it, because the person is right in front of me. But
Mhm.
then I started training more, and I started to have more fun in what I was doing. And then, and when we're talking about self mastery, when we're talking about, owning it is self mastery. um, is it's not about anything else. It's just about you creating this moment. And he would talk a lot about like painting,
Mhm.
like what are the strokes that you as an artist are doing.
Yeah.
And so when I'm doing my martial arts and boxing, sometimes it does show up like that. Sometimes it does show up where I do feel like I'm a painter, and I'm using this stroke, or I'm using this brush, and that kind of thing. But it helps me stay in the moment, and it helps me enjoy the moment.
Mhm.
So that expression, they don't exist. It's like you can't put your energy towards what other people are thinking so much, or you'll get punched.
Mhm. Yeah, I think I heard all of that, like the vulnerability, the empathy, the self-mastery in what you just explained to me.
Mm, yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, I've never been asked that, and uh, you know, yeah, own it or owning it, own it,
Like owning it. Like
own
what
it.
does it mean to own it? Like what does it
Yeah.
mean to own like your life, your past, whatever it is? And some people like get it right away. Some people are like, God, this is like a really deep, provoking question. And so I don't think a lot of people get to answer or ask that question. And I came up with this question. It's part of my brain because I'm like, oh my God, I gotta own all this. I gotta own the good, the
Mm.
bad, the strutting and the falling and all of that. But that is all part of like the self-mastery, the vulnerability, the empathy, and all of that. So yeah, I think when you think about it doesn't sound like it all belongs together, but as we're talking, it's like, yeah, everything belongs together, but in different ways. And even though it's like fighting, what was it like? You're there, that pretend that that person isn't there, and it's about you, but that person is there.
Yeah, it's kind of a scary thing when you like in the wrong hands. It could be
Hmm.
very dangerous, but in a master,
Yes.
it can be something very beautiful and actually very respectful. And
Hmm.
that's how I feel like when I'm training with people or when I'm like I don't spar as much as I used to, but it's like when I'm doing stuff with people, it's I'm in community with them,
Hmm.
right? Like I love being in the same space with them,
Hmm.
and I don't really like I sometimes don't like to use words to describe that 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 creating that moment together.
Hmm.
And I'm calling like for example, I'm calling my men's group Akasha.
Akasha.
Yeah, Akasha.
Hmm.
And it's something that Orpheus had introduced to me a while back, and I don't even quite know if I'm like term it like the terminology or the definition is correct, but it's kind of like it's like another element. It's like the space within and also the space without.
Hmm.
And so I feel like a lot of what I do is like learning how to appreciate my life in these moments with the people that I'm sharing it with.
Hmm.
And because I'm choosing certain things, like I'm seeking joy. I'm
Hmm.
seeking fun. I'm seeking playfulness. I'm seeking vulnerability. These kind of like that's what fulfills me, and in a sense, that's what brings that the whole purpose. And I guess I'm kind of like on a mission, on a movement. Somebody that I met recently, who I'm going to be collaborating with
Yeah.
on something that I want to share at the end here,
Yeah.
um, is she called it your you know your it's your movement, and
Hmm.
I'm like I don't know. I mean, like I like that sounds cool, you know.
Your movement. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is, but as long as you know, no, just kidding. But
Yeah.
that's that whole part of like us business, entrepreneurs and business owners. It's like fine tuning, like shaping, testing out like what it is that we do, how we do it, all these basic business foundation questions. You know, who's your audience? What's the service that you're providing? What's the need? What's the value that you bring to it? Um,
Mhm.
it's like okay, yeah, that makes sense. And
Mhm.
okay, I have no idea, but yes, let's put that up there, but we're not sure where it's gonna go yet.
Yet, yeah. And that's the beauty of taking this path is there's always going to be modifications, changes, and that's scary but also beautiful about it. It kind of, very like the martial arts. It's like, you're going to get hit, but how are you going to, how are you going to defend yourself and how are you going to get up after you've been hit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I will put all your information in the description box for anybody who wants to work with you, and any last words that you want to share.
Yeah. I guess two things. So the first thing is that well, maybe three. So the first thing is that the project that I am working on recently is somebody that came to my workshop. We met up for coffee, and she started to share with me her story about starting her business.
Okay.
And being an Asian woman, it inspired me. And as we started talking, I decided to be vulnerable and tell her something that I don't always tell people, but it's like even though I work with men and young boys and Asian, sometimes specifically, in my heart, I've always wanted to do these things that I do for women. And in the past, though, whenever I brought up martial arts and boxing, I had like some women go and then walk away. Um, but when I said this to her, she was like, "I have a group of women, a group of Asian business women. We meet monthly. I would like to do a workshop with you." Uh, and because she talked a lot about like we need these things, confidence, we need these things, feeling failure, we need these things, and just talking to you, you
Hmm.
know, saying like Asian businesswoman, it's like there is that side of you that these kind of ways of doing things or these practices, these drills could help
Hmm.
navigate those moments of imposter syndrome or not feeling enough, um, and not being able to own it, right?
Hmm.
Or just like those moments where we don't feel like we have the community. So these kind of things that what I can bring. So we're planning on doing a workshop specifically for Asian business women,
Oh,
and
I
I'm
love
not
that.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty awesome, and I'm not sure if it's going to be uh, October or November. The goal is let's get it out there so we can do a test run, and
Okay.
then like that. And then secondly, I have an Asian men's group that we meet once a month. This cohort is essentially already formed, and we had an agreement that we just keep it like
Great.
us. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Um, but I have other people reaching out to me, and I've had like different kind of thoughts percolating. I'm thinking about inspired by my friend Mick White, who does these purpose fueled events around the town here. It started off with just a few people showing up. Now he's kind of like everywhere, and but just inspired by like taking an example of what he's done, and possibly, I'm not sure yet, but like possibly creating spaces for men to just show up,
Mhm.
and not necessarily it to be like a cohort or a circle. Like it's just more like, hey, come grab some coffee and
Mhm.
have a space where you can show up and know that there's other men
Mhm.
that need a space like that. So those are like the things that I'm kind of working on as far as outside of speaking and yeah, like my speaking. Um, and then if I were to have anything like a message or anything like that, um, don't give up.
Unleash the beast, I love that. And I think it's wonderful that you are creating a community, especially for men. I know that there's a lot of things going on with men right now, especially just the social isolation. So I think that is so important and needed, and not that it's only for Asian men, but I think especially for Asian men.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks for saying that, because sometimes I kind of go back and forth, like, you know, like, is it men in general? Is it Asian men? But I am noticing through just having this group of men that I'm meeting with, there is something very specific that is needed, and it comes out by them just showing up. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, they bring their struggles, they bring their celebrations as well, but it's like, oh, I see the connection. I see the connection.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, a lot of us are dealing with guilt. A lot of us are dealing with, um, how do we not have to be the son that you know follows this path,
Yeah.
um, like that, or just having mental health awareness and tools at our side.
I love that. I love that. And you are truly forging your own path and owning it. And you are truly empowering others to forge your own path and to own it also.
Thank you, thank you
Yeah.
so much. Yeah,
Yeah. So I will put all Pete's information in the description box. And thank you so much, Pete, for being here today. I learned so much. And just the use of, I think, like when we think of martial arts, we have our own ideas about martial arts, but the education of martial arts, being present, being mindful, and using those skills in our daily lives.
yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah, what's up? So unleash the beast and keep going. And what else? So I love all these messages. Pete, again, thank you for being here. This was fun. I love having Jasper on. So
He's still here. He's still here.
yeah. Oh,
He's
hi.
on my
Oh, look
lap.
at him. He's just so good. So, yeah, I want to thank everybody for watching and listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button. And if you enjoyed everything else I'm doing, please hit the subscribe button. So, again, thank you so much, Pete. And I so appreciate you. And I just see a lot of collaborations in you making a lot of changes for a lot of people.
Awesome. It's been a honor, and I'm grateful to have been able to meet you.
Hmm.
Thank you, Christine, for introducing us. And yeah, I'm excited to just build off this. And I appreciate everything that you do, all the sacrifices that you make, and all the hard work, and being able to hold space for your guests and as well as your audience. So yeah, keep keep at it. Don't give up.
Don't give up. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you all next time. Take care. Bye.
Bye.